Coffee carts, lies, and framed scripture. Coffee carts, lies, and framed scripture. Hey, this is Faithful Man. Well, no, let's say that again. This is Chris Huffman with Faithful Man, bringing you yet another intriguing story behind the scenes and among the ranks of my independent Baptist brethren and churches in general. I still am, at heart, an independent Baptist. Still believe that is the most closest to the Bible we can be, but I'm not staunch and dogmatic about it. And I am looking into other things. Do titles matter? Do they not? I don't know. But a lot of people get on here and they want to slam the independent Baptists as a whole and talk about all the bad stories. And they're there in every church, though. So this is not my freedom from the independent Baptist. So what do I mean when I say coffee carts, lies, and framed scripture? I don't know why the Lord has me thinking about it this morning, but He does that, and then He promised me to make a video about it. So I know it's going to help somebody. Before I get into the story, it's about lying. And what so-called Christians are so willing to do to get their way, to hurt somebody else, to cover up other Christian brethren in the church. It's disgusting. It blows my mind how willingly Christians will just lie and gossip to your face about you. So this is going to be a little long because I'm not going to try to rush it. It's a good story and it's a good lesson to learn from it. The Lord had orchestrated in our life I don't know, 20 years ago. Has it been that long? It had been one of those miraculous things that God had done in my life. I was in the military. 9/11 had hit. And just like everybody else, a lot of questions. For me, at that point in time in my life, the church we were attending, a man one night during a testimony referenced this, and he brought up the fact how so many people are turning to God through this, and that was all over the news. How that next Sunday and all that other stuff, how many churches were full of people, which is what people typically do. Things get hard and scary, they turn to God. But as we all well know, that was very short-lived, if even a month. Everything was back to normal. But he had said something, Joe, still remember his name, that, hey, we're getting all concerned. I can't even remember how he said it, but all concerned about these bombs and these attacks. And everybody's saying they're coming back to God. But we're missing the point when it comes to souls or something like that. But I can't even remember what he said. But whatever he said, it just got deep into me where I just really began questioning whether I should even be in the military. And this is not an attack on the military and all that stuff, but it does fall under, I was considering, I wish I could remember exactly how he said it. I was considering becoming more of a pacifist and unarmed, whatever they call that, military person. That stuff was all just considerations in my mind and heart. A cognizant regenerist? I can't remember the term. I ain't thought about this story for a long time. And so we began the paperwork to get out of the military. And during that time, somebody from my past found me. And I can't remember how it really went down, but what was going on is a pastor who I had been under for a year during college, who I immediately was endeared to. I loved his demeanor, I loved how he taught, loved how he preached. I just was instantly in love with this man and respected this man. I was only there for a year, and then, got married, went on with my life and different things, and just lost contact. We got married, and me and my wife went to another college, and I made a couple good friends there. Potential lifelong friends, but you know how it goes. You leave college, you go to different states, you get ministries, you just lose contact. Well, one of these good friends had ended up marrying this pastor's daughter. So this pastor had come back to a church that he used to be a youth pastor of. Came to be their pastor. And as they were looking for a new assistant pastor to run the bus ministry and children's ministry and just be an assistant to the pastor, whatever conversation these two guys had, they didn't know me, but the pastor brought up my name and my friend brought up my name and realized they both knew me. So that's in and of itself, God was leading. And at that time, MySpace is what was going on, and I didn't have much going on, but somehow one of their wives, the secretary of the church, found me and just basically said, hey, we want you to come be our assistant pastor. And so then the conversation started. So I'm already in the middle of paperwork to get conscientious objector to get out. And it's got to go through 3 processes. It's got to go through my initial main supervisor. And then it's got to go to the whatever next level of command colonel, and then to the next level of command colonel. Long story short, I got denied. But still dealing with this, these guys want me to come be assistant pastor in this church. So, the main colonel of the base, his daughter had done something that was an embarrassment to him, and he was being shipped to another base. And just like most organizations, military or civilian, they want there not to be any issues at the organization, no problems that the new leader or the new commander is coming on. They don't want any issues. Well, my thing was an issue on this colonel's desk, and they just ran it through and let me go. So this new colonel wouldn't have to deal with it. So another miracle, just, getting out. And in 3 days, I was gone. about 10 years later, because of some leadership I was under, I started developing just, I don't know, all my jerk, anger, selfishness issues came out many years later. So at this point in time, me and my wife were a team. My wife was always a good woman. We are so happy here. There's a Christian school there. My wife's teaching in the Christian school. It's kind of a homeschool Christian school type thing. I'm on staff. We're living on property. It was just beautiful. I had 3 kids then, and like 5, 3, and 1. And it was great. Even now, it just brings so many fond memories. The preacher told me several times, man, you guys are doing exactly what I want. Just keep it up. Just keep it up, man. You guys are doing great. And he was complimenting me like that for 6 months. Every week or 2. Insane. And me and my wife redecorated all the offices and repainted and re-schemed, and he just walked in there one day and was just, man, guys, this looks great. You guys are doing great. And at one point in time, he said, man, I am never going to fire you, dude. He says, unless you turn out to be a child molester, I'm just not going to fire you. I'm not that type of guy. I was in charge of the bus ministry and the children's ministry, which was pretty much non-existent. The bus ministry that was there, the man that was there before left, which was part of why he brought me on, but he was a bus mechanic, and he told me, he says, hey, this man had these buses purring like kittens, but bringing them in empty. He says, I know you're not a mechanic, do what you can. I just want you to bring these buses in full. All right. And I did. They had 13 buses. There was only like 7 running, not even bringing in 25 people. And most of those were just handicapped people. Nothing wrong with that. Bring anybody you can to church. I'm all for that, but nobody was visiting. Nobody was knocking doors. Nobody was trying to build a route. Nobody was trying to win souls to Christ. And most of the bus captains and men that drove the buses didn't even go to Sunday school. They just came, took them to their class, and they just hung outside and smoked and drank coffee. Or they didn't even hang around. So it was an absolute pathetic joke. And that stuff happens under leadership. Well, I have my plans and my ideas, and I ran everything by the pastor. He approved everything. I wrote a letter explaining that, hey, we want our captains to take ownership of these, because the bus director before was getting up early every Sunday morning, starting up all the buses, cleaning out all the buses, and that was just absolutely foreign to me. I said, no way. We're going to teach our captains to take care of their buses and their people. They're going to take ownership. So they're going to come start their own buses. They're going to clean out their own buses. Now, I'll go gas them up on Saturdays, and I wrote a letter explaining all that. Pastor approved it. Sounds good to me. Well, made a couple people mad. And ultimately left, which they needed to leave. Or at least leave them being bus captains. Long story short, I trained new workers. We're running all 13 buses, and we're bringing 150 to 200 kids in. And still bringing in the handicap. And they're all coming in and starting their own buses and cleaning them up, and things are going. We started a Wednesday or Thursday night kids club. I started from scratch, trained all the workers, and we had 100, 150 kids coming in every weeknight for that, or whatever Wednesday or Thursday. It was great. Things were going good. I was loving it. I can't think of one. Just loving it, man. And then one day, I don't know, we week or two before this day. I was playing basketball with the pastor. Just me and him, one-on-one, having a good stinking time. But I came down hard on a jump on my ankle. I've got bad ankles. I've rolled my ankle several times through the years. That one was the worst that I recall. It bruised up half my leg. That was bad. I was on crutches. Fine. So, I mean, I'm not able to physically do a bunch of stuff, while I'm on these crutches. And during that time, a leak sprung up in the church. It was coming up into the parking lot. So the parking lot was being torn up, and we were trying to find this leak. There was other men on the property, and I'm walking around on crutches and, feeling a little guilty, but not so much. I mean, I'm on crutches, but trying to do my part. And then during all that time, another man who used to be a part of the church came to be a part of the church. And all this stuff was going on. So let me get back to a specific. So one morning, these buses weren't starting. It was cold, and one guy's having... One of the guys who didn't even go to church, he just hung outside, drank coffee, made a smoked, yelled at me from across the parking lot. Whatever he said, hey, Mr. Huffman, or hey, bus director, what are we going to do about these buses not starting? He's yelling at me from across the parking lot. So I just rushed over to him. I said, John, man, you can't be talking. And I'm 27. You can't. That's why another video where I got so tired of dealing with 50, 60, 70-year-old babies. I said, all you got to do is ask for help, man. If you guys can't get them started, I mean, I might be able to help a little bit, but, don't yell at me in front of everybody. Another story. So this is all bringing me back to the title of Coffee Carts, Lies, and Framed Scripture. One of the things Pastor had me do, the place was basically a mess in a lot of ways. So I'm cleaning up a lot of stuff. And one of them was this itty-bitty library. I mean, it might have been 8-foot by 20-foot little room where they had books in there. And it was a stinking mess. It was between the church offices and one of the main Sunday school rooms. And it was a mess. And there was a coffee cart in there that they used for that one Sunday school room, one of the handicap classes. All right. Pastor asked me to clean up this room. So I've cleaned it up, got it organized, and in the process, I moved it. Man, it's so stupid. Every time I think about it and tell the story, it is so flipping, stinking, stupid, childish, but this stuff goes on. In the process of me cleaning that, I had moved the coffee cart from one wall to the other wall. It just, how my mind thinks, whatever was going, that's how that room looked the most organized and got utilized the best. That next day in work or whatnot, things had been moved around again. The coffee cart was up against the other wall, the previous wall. No big deal, didn't think much about it, reorganized the room, put it back over there. Then it was moved again. I think I put a note on it. It says, Pastor had asked me to straighten up this room, and I've organized the room. So, please leave the room alone and leave it how I set it up. And I can't remember if somebody left a note there again. I don't think anybody left a note. So the next Sunday, from across 30 feet away, under the big old porch that wrapped around this church, I'm coming out of my office, and I just remembered his name. And this guy had been a blessing to me. He was helping me be a mechanic on these buses as best as he could. He comes yelling at me, Who do you think you are moving my mom's coffee cart? I walked up, I said, listen, man, what are you talking about? And I said, listen, man, I don't know what I said, but it's probably something along the lines of, listen, man, Pastor just asked me to straighten this things up. I don't think there's any reason for y'all to get so upset about this coffee cart. And then, so now I'm on crutches, walking around. I'm in the middle of the parking lot, and I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I've never done this before. We're searching for water. A hole was dug, and at some point in time, I walked up to the pastor and some men and said something about, man, well, what can I do? Well, you need to find something to do. That's the first time he got on me like that, and I thought, well, okay, well, there's something going on. Then later on, I'm digging in this, I'm just scooping water out with my hand. And as I'm there, he walks by and he throws a cup at me. So I know something ain't right. Dang nabbit, what is going on? And sometime next couple days, he called me and the other assistant pastor who'd been there for years, my age, into the, and he just said, Chris, I gotta tell you, I'm ready to fire you. And I started bawling. What do you mean? You gotta tell me why. He said, I don't have to tell you anything. He said, but I'll tell you this, one time you work on your motorcycle when you're supposed to be working. I said, preacher, at this point in time, I wouldn't even given any of this credence. That guy wouldn't have got 1 second of my time. I don't play that game no more. If I got called in as an assistant pastor right now, doing all the stuff that I know I'm doing, and things are going good and everything's going great, and he's did nothing but compliment me, and all of a sudden I go in there and he says, I'm fixing to fire you. I say, c'est la vie. I don't need no explanation, dude. Or I sit there and we talk about it man to man, and we take it before the church, because you're a lying, stinking snot, and I'm not going to put up with it. This is God's house. These are God's people. We're not going to do this sneaky, underhanded crap. So if you're going to sit here and tell me you're going to fire me, we're going to take it before some men. We're going to take it before the church, and we're going to figure out what's going on. Then, long story short, I just left quietly. So let me give you all the story. I started bawling. You got to tell me, well, I don't have to tell you anything, but one thing is you're working on your motorcycle. I said, preacher, I got your permission to work on my motorcycle. We work till 5 o'clock every day. The motorcycle shop closed at 5. I needed a new tire, and I asked for an hour off early so I could take the tire off and get to the shop. You already okayed that. So I don't remember what he responded to that. And then he wrote out a letter. Hey, I had this meeting with Chris, the other assistant pastor. You know, we're going to keep this under wraps. We're going to give it 2 weeks, see if he improves. Listen, I was already doing all that I could do. And I said, okay. Because when I walked out, I knew in my heart, there ain't no way, this ain't going to change. I've already been doing everything I'm supposed to do, and then some. And then this other man I told you was about had been there. So I got these 2 guys mad at me, and now I got this other guy who everybody loved, and there I'm getting the whiff and hint of somewhat of a conspiracy about the church once, you know, I was pretty much loved by most people, but there's always them few that carry the weight. Wanted me gone, wanted this guy on. All that's brewing. And so he said, this letter's between us 3. I'm not even going to read it to my wife. It's us. It's okay. And either that next week or the week after, we're doing a play. We've been practicing a play. I was heading up this play. You know, took it from scratch, trained people. We rehearsed it, and we were going to have a 3-night event at our church putting this play on, and it was going great. Everything was just beautiful. I mean, just absolutely flipping stinking. I mean, I was happy, but at this point in time, we've had that meeting. Well, this one fella, he's never at church. He's there that one evening. I recognize his car, and him and his wife, and as far as I know, his wife's a good woman, but they're in there talking with the preacher. Now, the way those offices were set up, they were just all connected, and all the venting system was all connected. It was very easy to overhear conversations. So, pastor's office here, church office right behind it. Along the other side was like a copy room or that library, all connected by vents. And I know that man and his wife are in there, and I hear my name. I hear it clear. Well, I don't eavesdrop as a habit of life, but they're in there talking about me, so I'm gonna perk up. And I perk up, I get close to that vent, and I hear the conversation, and he is in there reading this letter to this couple and telling them he's going to fire me. So, I go out and tell my wife, find her, and she's all upset, and she's ready to go fight. And I said, no, we're just gonna leave quietly. You know, I would not do it like that today. I'm not there to cause a ruckus in the church, but when sin is in the camp, I'm gonna address it. And so, later on that week, he's up on a ladder. I'm holding a ladder for him or something. I said, hey, preacher, I think I'm just going to, in light of what's going on, I think I'm just going to go to Bible college. I got my GI Bill. We'll just go to Bible college. And he says, like with a sigh of relief, I can't remember if he came down to look at me, if he was talking to me from the ladder. I can't remember. And he says, I think that'd be good, Chris. And he kind of pauses and says, I got to tell you, Chris, man, I'm under a lot of pressure. Without apologizing, he was apologizing for how he was using me as a scapegoat. He says, people are on me and they're trying to do stuff, and I'm just sorry how things are going. I don't know that he even used the word sorry, but whatever was said and how it was said was indication to me he was apologizing for what he had done. No big deal. So anyway, next week or so, I'm looking at Bible colleges online, and evidently all of our emails and accounts are all attached. Anybody can look at another account. I didn't know that. Ain't no big deal. I'm not trying. Okay, well, Matt, the other assistant, pulls me aside one time. First of all, at that meeting that we had, when we got out, he looked at me and said, dude, I don't know what that was about. I don't see any of that stuff he's talking about. I don't know where that came from. And so then he says in a meeting, when he had a meeting with him, the pastor, and the deacons, in that meeting, the pastor is reading my emails to him and making it sound like, you know, Chris is unhappy here. He's looking to go to college. Okay, the fact that even goes on. See, men are just so flippin' stinking weak most of the time. If a pastor now, I'm telling you, if somebody's going to do it, hey, I want to read you an email from one of I said, listen, do they know you have this email? What is going on? Because it don't sound like this is any of our business. So Matt came right out and told me. All right. So he's already lied to me. And Jane, no, let me backtrack. His wife was in that meeting with that man and his wife. So he read the letter to them and his wife. And so after he got off the ladder or whatnot, and I said, hey, I got a question to ask you. I said, do you ever read that letter to anybody? He says, nope, didn't read it to nobody. And not even your wife? Didn't read it to anybody. So he's lied about me, he's lied to me, he's telling people stories about me. All right, listen, God's going to make a man out of me that he needs to make. I mean, and he's going to do it to anybody. You're going to have to go through hard times. office, when I was on ministry there at staff there, I preached my first week-long conference. Pastor asked me to teach the youth conference, and I preached. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it was just a wonderful experience, that whole thing, until he acted like a moron. And my dad came every night of that. And he had an old King James Bible page that he had framed that he gave to me at the end of that. So, absolutely something I absolutely prize. Right now it's in my office, in my warehouse office thing. But I can't remember the circumstances, but I somehow left it there. And so I had called and talked to one of the secretaries and said they were okay. We'll try to find it. Well, nobody's finding it. Well, something's going on because it's right there. And I think she even told me, well, yeah, we found it. Let me get with the preacher, whatnot, and see if we can get it sent to you. I don't know, over a couple of weeks. Long story short, it just wasn't getting done. It wasn't getting sent. And I told my dad about it. He said, I'll figure it out. And my dad went down there, confronted that man, and it was within a matter of a couple minutes, got it for my dad. So there's that story. Coffee carts, lies, and framed scripture. Let's man up. Let's quit being like the world in our churches. Yeah, speak truth, have some passion, show some anger about some things that aren't right, but we can love each other. When we have disagreements, we talk to each other. The Bible talks specifically about not doing these types of things. And he knew people are going to do it like this. But anyway, that's one of the chapters of my life. I hope it helps you. And until we meet again, keep your eyes on him.